Well, we start from courts. Member of Parliament for South Roxy Nelson Dafeamekpor, another lawyer, Israel Tete, and the Ghana Law Society are challenging the exclusive constitutional rights granted to the Ghana Bar Association. The plaintiffs are asking the Supreme Court to declare that the numerous references to the Ghana Bar Association in the 1992 Constitution do not refer exclusively to the current private voluntary association known as the GBA. Let's get into this. We have Justin Parwaba-Teriwaja. He's a private legal practitioner with Kokode and Associates, and also Dr. Jennifer Morris, and he is lawyer for the plaintiffs. We're grateful for your time, gentlemen, on our desk. So I'm grateful. Let me start with Mr. Manfred Teriwaja. No, let me start with Dr. Jennifer on this. You are lawyer for the plaintiffs. Exactly what are you seeking from the Supreme Court? What are your reliefs? Unmute and speak to us, please.
Okay. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. All right. Very well. Good morning to viewers and listeners also as well. Well, we are only seeking 7 reliefs, but I would just want to summarize the reliefs that we are seeking for. And the first relief we are seeking for is that the current Ghana Bar Association, as we have currently, is it the same as what is referenced in the 1992 Constitution? Because if you take Article 153, F, 166, 201, and a number of them, it mentions Ghana Bar Association. So we want to know if this is the same Ghana Bar Association as currently we have. But our argument has been that that is not the Ghana Bar Association that the Constitution intended. And that our argument is that the Ghana Bar Association, as referenced in the Constitution, has to do with associations of lawyers. And because if the framers of the Constitution really indeed thought that it was this current Ghana Bar Association, then it infringes upon Article 17 and Article 21(1)(e), which guarantees freedom of association. Then it means that nobody else, no lawyer, can join any association other than the Ghana Bar Association. So that is part of our argument. And another argument we are making also is that, indeed, if it is the Ghana Bar Association as currently as it is, if it is what is referenced in the 1992 Constitution, then the question is, can a private body, can the Constitution abrogate, accord a private body which is not a creature of statute? Can the Constitution grant that monopolistic right, privileges, and all other roles to it? That is another argument that we are making, because our point is that the Ghana Bar Association, every lawyer has a right to join any association of choice. Every lawyer has a right to join any association, and that the reference to Ghana Bar Association is not what we have currently. And if the Ghana Bar Association thinks that because they existed prior to the 1992 Constitution, and so the 1992 Constitution made reference to them, then they are really making a unilateral mistake, because that is what they think, but that is not the intention of the framers of the Constitution. And so we want the Supreme Court to unravel all this, because people have the right to join any association of their choice. So that is the reason why we are in the Supreme Court.
Well, if the GBA's role is struck down, how should appointments to the Judicial Council and higher courts be managed in the interim if your reliefs are sought?
Yes, so if our reliefs are sought, what we are saying is that first, the name Ghana Bar Association has to be changed, because then it is misleading and they are misrepresenting themselves to the public as though they are the Ghana Bar Association as the Constitution intended. So we want their name to be changed. It's part of our reliefs. Now, if the name is changed, the current Ghana Bar Association will now take on a different name. And so if it takes on a different name, we also have Ghana Law Society. So it means that in the interim, we would have two associations. And these two associations would now come together to elect who should represent them on the various constitutional bodies, like the Police Council, the Prison Council, and the Judicial Council. So that is what we are looking at, because for us.
But the current Bar Association is already doing. Why do you need two separate entities to do one job?
That is why we are saying that the current Bar Association is monopolistic. It cannot continue to be the Ghana Bar Association as we want, because the current Ghana Bar Association, people have the right to join any association of their own choice.
Are you a member of the association?
Of course, I am a member of the current Ghana Bar Association.
Okay, so just want to understand this. Why do you think the current association, do you think it's not serving your interest, or that there are other people who are against this, apart from the plaintiffs in this suit?
The truth is, even though we are looking at the constitutional side of it, I would want to veer a little bit into the internality of the current Ghana Bar Association. Obviously, they are not serving our interest. They are not serving our interest. The ideologies that they have are not consistent with the ideologies that some of us have. And it is part of the reasons why we want that monopoly to be broken. Because, there are a number of things going on with the Ghana Bar Association that, some of us are not happy. And it seems to be, because, for instance, you make payment of dues for the entire year and you get nothing from the association. That is a fact. Even a common sticker that the association has, you have to purchase the sticker from your own pocket. The association organizes conferences and you have to pay for those conferences aside the national dues that we pay. And so some of us have been asking ourselves, then what is the use of paying those national dues if we are not getting anything? Our welfare has not been taken care of. We have no medical insurance. We have nothing. So it looks as though we are just throwing money to people to just spend. And these are part of the, the agitative reasons why some of us want to move away from the current Ghana Bar Association and join an association that can champion our cause, that can have similar ideologies and values as we have.
But if your argument is that this body is a private association, why don't you just break away? Do you necessarily have to go to the Supreme Court to do that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because this is a matter of interpretation. Because we want the Supreme Court to make a determination as to whether the current Ghana Bar Association, which is not a creator of statutes, is the same as the Ghana Bar Association as referenced in the Constitution. Because, most of the time, that is what the current GBA, they have been saying, that it is the same. But our argument has been that it is not the same. And so we need a Supreme Court to unravel this for us. Whether the intention of the framers of the Constitution was what exactly they are talking about. And the legal landscape right now is expanding. And so if that is the case, then it means people's rights to join associations are being trampled upon, because the Constitution at a point cannot give people the freedom to join any association of their choice, and at one point in time also restrict and restrain the same people that do not join any other association. There is clearly an inconsistency in this part of the Constitution, if that is what is supposed to be. But we are saying that even if that is what is supposed to be, then using purposive interpretation, that cannot be. And so, that monopoly has to be broken, honestly.
All right. So let me bring in lawyer Terry Roger here, and he's with Kokode and Associates. We're grateful for your time, sir, but I'd like to know from you, is the GBA a statutory body or not?
To begin with, thanks for having me. But to begin with, I'm no longer with Kapundi and Assist. I'm now with Bipu Law Center.
All right. Okay.
So that's the point of correction.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. And the question you asked me is whether GBA is a statutory creature.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And the answer is no. You see, I've never come across any statute that can be said to have established GBA. GBA goes back to Gold Coast Bar Association, established in 1876, I guess. I mean, at least. Yeah, so there was a Gold Coast Bar Association established somewhere around 18. I mean, need to cross-check that, but I'm speaking from memory. Yes, but there was a Gold Coast, of course, you know, looking at 1876, there was no Ghana by then. Ghana only came into usage from 1957. If we are even not talking about the establishment of Ghana College by Kwame Nkrumah before 1957. But Ghana can't, or as police, we speak respect with respect for 90. So then, if there was established 76, the dignity was called bad and became independent, became known as Ghana.
Lawyer, I'm finding it difficult to hear you now. If you can reposition yourself so we can hear your side of the conversation.
Right. Do you hear me now?
It's better now, yeah. If you can maintain this position, that would be great.
Okay, right. So if it is clearer now, I can speak.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, right. So as I said, there used to be a Gold Coast Bar Association established in 1876.
Okay.
And then when we became Ghana, then it changed to Ghana Bar Association. But all along, it's been established by private lawyers as a professional organization to promote professionalism in the profession. And it's been like that. So essentially, it is a voluntary association. But from that Gold Coast era up to date, there's never been serious questions raised against its existence by its own members. And so every lawyer who passes out of law school automatically became a member of the Ghana Bar Association. But the conduct of the GBA in the recent past has caused its own members to start questioning whether it is fit for purpose and whether rival associations should not be established to just to set up. I'll give you a case in point. I, for one, I had a case in the Supreme Court where my solicitor's license was challenged. And they said my solicitor's license had expired. And for that matter, the process I filed on behalf of my client was challenged. And the lawyer on the opposite side of the case said it was void. I was surprised when the Ghana Bar Association filed an amicus curiae brief. Yes, when the Ghana Bar Association weighed in the case and filed an amicus curiae brief. And by that, they urged the Supreme Court to declare the process void, and that my counter argument was that if the process was held void, it will affect all lawyers in Ghana and their clients throughout the country, and what it will mean is that it will create unnecessary liability for lawyers. You know the response of Ghana Bar Association?
No.
They said they wanted it that way. It should open a floodgate for lawyers to be sued by their clients if the clients' cases are thrown out on such frivolous grounds and the clients lose, then they should come after the lawyers themselves. That was when I realized that this association had lost its focus. They were doing all of that just to please the General Legal Council, which is the regulatory body. But in most professions, you have the voluntary association trying to protect the private interests of private lawyers, while the regulatory body is trying to also do its regulatory, watchdog role, or play its regulatory watchdog role.
Right.
Now, but in each case, you see the Ghana Bar Association throwing its members under the bus to please the regulatory body at all costs, damn the consequences on its members. And I was a victim in that.
So how will the GBA's role survive if the Supreme Court, grants these reliefs?
Yeah, of course, they did that and encouraged it. The Supreme Court was divided. In the end, we had, there were 7 judges, 4 ruled in favor of the GBA, 3 ruled in my favor. I lost the case in the end. But in the end, so many lawyers are not happy with that because it is being used against them. And who created that? Their own association to which they pay dues annually.
All right.
And so then, there are several lawyers who think that no, if we have a rival association which will stand up for us, it is always better. Because sometimes the lawyer is in trouble, and then the GBA who should come and say that, look, let's look at the case dispassionately and see how the lawyer can get justice. Even before the lawyer appears before the disciplinary body of the General Legal Council, you see GBA coming out to condemn the lawyer. At that point, the lawyer should be presumed innocent. It's kind of quasi-criminal. But too often, you see GBA coming out to condemn the lawyer ahead of him appearing before the disciplinary body for trial. So if lawyers come out of that experience feeling very bitter and wanting a rival association which will give them some comfort and then help to get their rights respected when they are in trouble, why not?
All right. Thank you very much.
All of this has been caused by the GBA itself.
Right. Grateful, Lawyer Terry Waja. But just before I let you off, Jennifer, what would you say to those who think that this is really to downplay the influence of the GBA, not necessarily its position in the Constitution? Very briefly.
The question.
Hello, Jennifer, are you there?
Oh, okay, it's not my question.
All right, Jennifer doesn't seem to hear us right now, but we move on and this conversation will continue in our various homes and offices. Well, the government is set to review the education curricula for kindergarten to primary 6 as part of efforts to strengthen the foundation of basic learning. Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu, who made this known during the Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman's first official visit to the Education Ministry, says the move is to improve the quality of teaching and learning in the country. There's more in the following report.
The Vice President's visit was to acclimatize with Ghana's educational sector and to share ideas as she herself is a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. In that interaction, Education Minister Haruna Iddrisu announced that government is reviewing the national curricula for kindergarten through primary 6 to strengthen foundational learning and improve outcomes at the basic school level. Haruna Iddrisu indicated that the reforms are designed to revolutionize teaching and learning in the country.
I'm also happy to note that we are currently reviewing education curricula for kindergarten to primary 6. And our emphasis is 1, we want to introduce electronics, robotics, coding, and AI into the very formative ages of young learners. It is our firm belief, again in your dream, that foundational learning holds the key to educational success generally. And we intend, with your support, to invest more in foundational learning. We intend to revolutionize STEM education with the acquisition of more additional STEM equipment to live your dream that the future is about science, mathematics, and engineering education.
He also promised decisive action to curb what he called a disturbing culture of indiscipline among senior high school students.
We've noticed a worrying phenomenon, which is un-Ghanaian, of Ghanaian students having weapons on schools, whether it's a machete or it's a gun or a cutlass, not acceptable for our campus. So we are beginning to emphasize that NASIA should play a more elaborate role, and schools should conduct randomized searches in order that students don't go into campus with this. But I've assured the Director General of GS that they have your absolute support in ensuring and not compromising on any matter of discipline.
Vice President Professor Ginano Pokwajiman on her part revealed government is committed to improving and expanding education in the country.
Our interest is not only the numbers, it's also to ensure that we can diversify the tertiary space and theme them. And you can see that is why we did the Eastern University the way we did. And that is also part of the reason why we raised the status of the polytechnics to technical universities. It wasn't a joke, because it's about the quality of the human resource that will drive that economy. And so if you don't train them to the highest level, it means that you have decided that you are not going to go further.
For Joy News, Stephen Mensah.
To, have more some understanding into this, we have in studio a rep from the Ministry of Education. We also have Yao Poko-Mensah, former technical advisor to the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, former Deputy PR of the Ministry of Education, Daniel Fenyi, is here with me in the studio. And I'll start with Daniel very briefly. Daniel, so this review of the curriculum, what's necessitating it?
All right, so thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, if you would recall the conversations around the curriculum, having to review our education system generally, having to improve on the quality of our education generally, have been on the table for some time. And you would agree with me that as times change, as things evolve, you may want to tweak your educational system, your curriculum, here and there to suit the evolving changes that are being recorded in the society. So, for example, presently we are faced with the reality of artificial intelligence. We are faced with the reality of STEM education. And so you are compelled to integrate these important new evolutions into your education system so that the graduates you would produce, the students you are training, will fit perfectly into the changing world. And this is the major reason the review of the curriculum and general conversations and revisions in the existing structures need to be done. And of course, as new management, we are very much committed to improving the quality of education. If that means we should revisit the conversations around integration of AI, revisit the conversation around STEM education. Even the conversations around STEM education have two sides now. So one school of thought believes that, okay, so we should have systems, we should have structures, we should have schools that are labeled as STEM schools. Others also believe that STEM is basically a concept. We should rather integrate it into the regular school system so that...
I can't do this, another standards-based curriculum.
Yes.
Didn't they, factor in all these things you're talking about?
Indeed. So that's the level we are tilting towards now, to integrate STEM into the new curriculum. And that has been done. In fact, presently, we are looking at robotics, areas around automobile, areas around engineering, even at the senior high school level. Some time past, you wouldn't have exposure in these fields until you move from the senior high to the university level. So some time past, you would have to study science, general science, and then when you move to the tertiary, that's where you are now going into the engineering and all that. But now we have integrated these fields because we consider them extremely important. We have integrated them into the senior high school level, and so our learners are able to specialize in these even before they move to the tertiary.
Does it mean that there's not going to be a major change in what they're learning currently, or there will be? Because you said the review already started, in the previous administration, and it's been integrated. Is there going to be a shift?
Indeed, we should expect a shift, but not to the extent that will come with cost implications. Government may have to incur some debt and all that. So we are looking at soft changes. So the first approach is looking at how to reduce rote learning in the system, right? You know, for some time past, issue about GBA is one of the major issues we are to deal with. And so now we are looking at how we can conduct our assessments such that it is not only the one who can do GBA who would be considered intelligent, but rather those who also have skills, classroom activities, class participation, class presentations. And so these are all part of the new resolve that we should see in our education system. So strongly, you will see that a student who is very active in class, who does all his assignments or her assignments, who is able to engage in class activities and discussions, sometimes even out of the class discussions and activities, they could still make some marks that will be factored in the overall marks that they make. So that is one. And then two, fields such as I mentioned, such as robotics. Now we are discussing, in fact, from next week, we are moving out to the field to look at how AI integration could be implemented in our schools. So right from next week, you will see us on the field.
And this automatically translates into the mode of instruction as well. Teachers that are going to be teaching these children right from kindergarten to the basic level. How are you also addressing this issue? Is it supposed to, generate some form of learning, modules or teaching modules for teachers? Or it will be also integrated in the training colleges so they learn it there and then they come out to the school to do it?
Yes, in fact, your point is very important. So whether we like it or not, every form of change, however minimal it could be, has pedagogical implications. By that I mean the method of teaching, the approach to teaching would obviously have to also be looked at. And of course, so we have two levels of this. The first level is the College of Education integrating these new inventions in their curriculum so that our teachers will come out fully prepared to handle these changes. So that is the first level. The next level is what we say or we call professional development sessions and training. So presently, every week, teachers meet in their various departments and fields to discuss how they roll out, how they teach, how they implement some of these or integrate some of these new initiatives into their pedagogy. So the teachers on the field already have some fair appreciation of the new initiatives coming. They are prepared, they are trained. So for the professional development sessions that is held weekly, we have the lead PD coordinator who is trained and so goes back to the schools to also engage with the teachers and train them. So every week our teachers engage in these activities, and not only the school level engagement. At the national level too, we engage them regularly to make sure that some understanding. And when we are rolling out these initiatives, we don't just sit in the office, plan, think, and dump it on our teachers and then in our schools. We consult broadly, we engage with them. In fact, some of the tools, materials that will be needed, we engage with the teachers. So they give us what they believe we should do at the policy level that will help them to implement these.
I'll come to you with the timelines, but let me bring in Yao Poku-Mensah, the former technical advisor to the Director General. We're grateful for your time, sir. You've listened to Daniel on this review. We've always had to review somewhat our curriculum. In the previous administration, way back, to 1996 and the rest, or even earlier. What do you make of these new changes that are coming into the system?
Let me say a good morning to yourself and to my brother in the studio, to our lovely viewers. I'm listening in the voice of the minister, the vice president, and my brother in the studio. I get confused. My confusion has got to do with we are understanding the current system, the current standard-based curriculum that we are implementing. Now, if you delve deep into the standard-based curriculum, and even before I move into that, let me correct an impression that was created by the vice president. the upgrading of polytechnics into technical universities.
Yeah.
Yes, into technical universities was as a result of the 2008 education reform. Everybody, if you read the government white paper on the Education Committee's report, the report which was led by Professor Anna Mohamed in 2004, you get to the government white paper indicating that technical polytechnics will be upgraded to technical universities. And that was what was carried on during the administration when he was the education minister. So that's the clarity. And again, as I was indicating, now if you look at the goals of the standard-based curriculum, there is one fundamental goal that it spells out, 21st century skill, to cultivate essential skills such as innovation, digital literacy, and effective communication. So if that is part of the goal of the standard-based curriculum, then what kind of reform are we looking at? Because the Ministry of Education, throughout the reforms that were made, mind you, the actual reform that could have, after the 2008 education reform, should have started way back in 2015. But it was delayed as a result of finance issues and carried on way back in 2017, 2018, and in 2019. The primary curriculum was introduced. And in that primary curriculum which was introduced, it tells us of the goals of a standard-based curriculum: student achievement, 21st century skill, problem solving, global preparedness, flexible learning pathway. So what we are discussing now, that's where my confusion lies. What we are discussing now has seriously been captured into the standards-based curriculum. That is why, if you look at the junior high school curriculum and the SHS curriculum, you could see a new career pathway that were introduced. And that is what brought us a result of the establishment of STEM schools, Bosomchi STEM, Abomosu, etc. And now, as we speak, in our various senior high schools, there is a specific STEM pathway that students will want to see.
Daniel's stance is that they're integrating these that was started in the previous administration.
The point is that the confusion in here, if you say they are integrating, it's already part of the system. Now, what is needed? What is needed, I think that they need to do, one, is to continue the projects that the previous government started, especially within the STEM fold. For example, if you come to Ashanti region, Daba, the Creative Art School, forget about the name Creative Art, it's a STEM school where where it incorporates art as well. That's why we call it, others are even advocating we should name it STEAM, to have the art incorporated into all what we are discussing. So if it's got to do with the tools, if it's got to do with the retraining, then we need to do it rather than advocating or telling the good people of Ghana that we are going to bring in a new curriculum which will seek to integrate STEM pathway plus, 21st century skill, etc. Everything is embedded in what was done, the basic level, the primary, the junior high school, and the current SHS curriculum, which its trial was done 2 years ago in 33 schools. Partial implementation done last year and full implementation, which is expected to be done this year. So we cannot go back and forth on reforms, relaunching what has already been done. A typical example is the B-STEM. So if we begin to go that path, then I'm sorry, the development of the country will never make any headway, especially when we want to use education as a building block in developing the human capital of our country. I think we rather will have to look at the system well, where we feel that we need to add more tools. We need to add more training to it for it to fit into the system. That is what I think we should do. That is what the previous administration led by Dr. Yaosea Duchu, and he will attest to it, that the retooling of our science labs in various senior high schools were vigorously started, introducing smart boards, etc. Were all introduced. For example, if you come to Kumasi Anglican, 6-unit science lab for them, St. Louis, 6 units, all across the length and breadth of the school. That is why you got to hear of Menfigel. That is why you got to hear of Kobi Sewa Ampem, a fantastic STEM school, etc. So the prospect, everything has already been done. We only need to build on it. If we need to add more tools to it, then we can have that conversation, add it on, rather than going back
to a review. Thank you so much, Yao Poko. Thank you so much. And he's former technical advisor to the Director General of the Ghana Education. Well, Daniel, interesting conversation there, but we'll continue that conversation later on. Right now, let's talk about the school placement. Some students and parents are still visiting NATWAL in Accra to have issues over their senior high placement resolved. They are asking relevant authorities to do more to ease their flight, And I'd like to ask you, I believe you're also receiving, complaints from people. Exactly how is this placement thing done? That there's always an issue, one way or the other.
All right, thank you. So just a minute to address some of the concerns. He belabored all the points and eventually agreed with me. And so I am confused where his disagreement is. So number one, at the time the new management of Ghana Education Service took over, there was no curriculum in the first place. So there's no conversation about whether there's curriculum or not. You started, of course, you started reviewing the curriculum, but you never finalized it. You never even finalized textbooks, common textbooks. So where is the conversation? If we come in, or as new management, we have come in and we are indicating that we are working hard at, one, reviewing, revising, and finalizing the curriculum for our learners. And indeed, already we have raised monies to procure the needed textbooks. And even the tablets that were distributed, a lot of the schools, right, some of the tablets that were distributed, a lot of the schools have not integrated them yet. So if a new management is looking at reviewing, revising, and indeed finalizing the curriculum, and then coming out with the corresponding textbooks that will help the students, where from the discussion again? So at the foundational level, let's agree that there's no curriculum in our system in the first place. For you to even say that you did the curriculum and a new management has taken over, so we should have a conversation on the curriculum. There's no curriculum. And this can be confirmed by all the teachers on the field now and the students on the field now. There's no curriculum. And this new management is working. And I can assure you, yes, I can assure you that the curriculum, yes, will be finalized. Yes.
There have been too many complaints.
Yes. So, yes, we have received a number of them as well. And, anytime we receive these concerns from parents and then from students, we sit down and then go through the concerns and see where and what must be done, not only to address the concerns of the parents, but also to prevent future occurrences like that.
Is there a problem with the placement system?
Okay, so two angles. One, we have systemic issues, and then two, we have the human factor issues, right? The systemic issues is where the computer, the placement system, from our part
is it that the computers are placing students wrongly to schools that they didn't choose, or what's happening?
So this is what happens. At the moment, we are looking at placing 590,000 plus students. Those are the students qualified for placement. As I speak to you right now, we have placed about 580,000 of them. So from the systemic level, there's very minimal challenge from where we sit and what we have worked on so far. Very minimal challenge. In fact, the vacancies in our various senior high schools, we have about 790,000 of vacancies. So if we are even going to place every child, then every child will get a space in our schools. We have enough vacancies for our students. So that is the systemic related issues. We have placed about 580,000. We have 590,000 to go. And by the close of the week, we expect that we would have placed everybody. In fact, those who are not even placed yet, they have opportunity for self-placement. In other words, schools that still have some spaces or some vacancies, we have listed all of them back in the portal. You go into the portal and self-place yourself in any of the schools, and instantly you get admission. So systemically, there's very minimal issue placement system, and it was quite intentional, you know.
But you see, let's come. You know, I mean, you've made that point.
Yes.
But there are still issues.
Yes.
That parents keep trooping the NAT centers.
Good.
So, what are the human errors that are contributing to this?
Now, these are the human areas. So, back in JHS 3, when our learners were preparing for the BEC, one of the important exercises they were made to do is to select 7 schools that they consider okay for themselves to be placed. 7 schools. So, all the about 600,000 students who wrote the BEC gave Ghana Education Service 7 schools. That I have my first choice. If I don't get it, give me my second one. If I don't get it, give me up to the 7th one.
Yes.
I'm comfortable with any of them. Now, this is what happens. Deep down inside the heart of the students and the parents, they want only the first choice, and at worst, the second choice.
So when they don't place well and they're giving the other selections, they don't.
Yes.
And that's the problem now.
That's the major.
So how are you resolving this issue?
So number one, we are not even changing the school. So the first issue is that if the school you are placed is part of the 7 you gave us, it's not even a problem. We have not configured that as a problem.
Right.
If the school you are placed, I'm repeating this, if the school you are placed is part of the 7 schools you gave us, then we don't configure it as even a problem in the first place, because you actually gave us those 7 schools. That's the first one. However, if the school you are placed is not part of the 7 you gave us, and we have received minimal number of concerns like that, if the school is not part, you are the reason we have Resolution Center. You are actually the reason. So when you come, what we do is that if the school is not part, we take 3 schools from you and work it out again for you.
Right.
Because then it means that, and we have received less than 500 of such cases. So majority of the people you see at the resolution...
Country, less than 500 cases?
Yes, the whole country.
Less than 500 complaints, you mean?
Complaints about those who were placed in schools they didn't select. So it's not part of the 7 that they selected. And we are taking concerns from the district level. So when I say national, I mean national. Nationally, less than 500. But the majority of the issues are, you gave me my 7th choice, I don't like it. You gave me my 6th choice, I don't like it. I want my first choice and my second.
For complaints like that, you're not...
It's not even configured. It's not even configured as a problem.
With them.
So for that, of course, we still admit that some parents and some students have very genuine cases. So example, you gave my 7th choice.
You have to really go, so if you could be brief about that.
All right, no problem. You gave me my 7th choice. I selected it, I agree. You gave me general art. I selected it, I agree. But at the time I was doing the selection, we were in Tema. That's where my parents, everybody, that's where we lived. But after the BEC, my parents got transferred from Tamale to Kumase. And so for such cases, we look at it merit by merit. So when you present them, we look at it, you produce evidence. Some concerns have come up.
All right.
Health-related issues. We consider health-related issues as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Ofenyi there, you're still watching JoyNews Desk. We'll take a break or return with business. Still JoyNews Desk. I am Michelle Lejekum. Let's do some business stories. Now, the Ministry of Finance has signed a debt restructuring bilateral agreement with the UK to unlock financing for key projects across the country, including the Big Push. Now, the move is part of initiatives by the government to seek creditor support to improve the economic growth of the country. Minister of Finance, Dr. Ato Forson, believes that this will make way for more opportunities ahead. Here is more.
The agreement will see the resumption of 5 key projects identified as priorities by government, with infrastructure investment of about 2.8 billion cedis for Ghana. The debt agreement will reduce financing pressures on the government so it can focus on some initiatives in the 2025 budget and economic program. Minister of Finance, Dr. Ato Forson, explains that this will restore the country to debt sustainability.
Today, we are taking steps to restructure debt in excess of 256 million United States dollars. Obviously, some are in GBA, Great British Pound, but equivalent of 256 million United States dollars. And this will unlock 5 major projects. the Bolgatanga-Boko-Polmakrom Road project, the modernization of the Kokode-Nwamase Teaching Hospital, the Bilateral Interchange and the Auxiliary Works Project Phase 2, the construction of Phase 1 of the Tema Flower Road project, and the redevelopment and modernization of the Kumasi Central Market. We believe that after signing this agreement, this project will immediately begin. The government of Ghana will take steps to ensure that we do what we have to do from our side so that together we can begin the disbursement on these facilities.
On his part, His Majesty's Trade Commissioner to Africa, John Humphrey, assured that the UK will continue to be behind Ghana's development through its recently launched 24-hour economy and other key policies by the new government.
Restructuring this debt in partnership with the Paris Club and G20, we're creating the fiscal space Ghana needs to deliver on its bold vision for the future, including the 24-hour economy and the Big Push initiatives. And these are not just slogans, they're transformative agendas that will drive jobs, drive innovation, and create prosperity for millions of people.
Projects prioritized under the UK Export Finance are the Bolgatanga Road, Bilateral Interchange Phase 2, KJTR Market Phase 2, Tema Afao Road Project, and Kokode-Nwamase Teaching Hospital Maternity Project.
Now, the chief executive of PSC Tema Shipyard, Osman Suleimana, has appealed to government for investments to develop the Tema Dry Dock Shipyard. The facility, which services vessels, has seen little development after it was built by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Explaining the challenges faced by the company to the Deputy Minister of Transport, Dorcas Afotofe, who was on familiarization tour, Mr. Suleimana noted that the company could rake in significant revenue for government.
The entire value chain of shipyard, maybe perhaps we should be looking at close to about 50 million US dollars. That is if you want to totally revamp in the entire value chain. But what we are operating now is not all entirely about the money, but it requires a lot of strategy and planning. I don't want to, because based on what that I'm mentioning these particular figures, but we did a budgetary cost, and the budgetary that we did was only looking at the existing infrastructure. But if you want to modernize the shipyard itself, will require more than what I've been spoken. And I believe that at that particular time, Nkrumah's idea was ahead of his generation. Now there is innovations in appropriate shipyard, so we will not just say what was existing is what we are looking at.
And that's it for business. I am Michelle Ejekum. For more business news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Mamisi.
Thank you, Michelle. And we're all in black, aren't we? Thank you for joining us on JoyNews Desk. We'll be back tomorrow with more news.